Today's post is about sewing with vintage Burda. I am using Burda July 1969 and I'm sewing up a trial garment of pattern number 8107. Do check out my blog post for in-depth information about how to work with Burda patterns. Look what I went and did. I forgot that I didn't add seam allowances, but because I saw this line, I got preoccupied and thought that there were seam allowances, but never mind. I'm just going to have to shift it down and shift that pattern piece down. Yeah, always put your mind straight into the job so that you don't go on autopilot. This is how I mark my dots. So I pin the dot point, which is the point at which the two dot legs meet, and then I use one of my erasable pens. So in this case I'm just using my black Friction marker. It works because this is a light colored fabric. It's a relatively stable fabric, so it's kind of more or less like I'm writing on paper. So I just turn it over, do the lowermost pattern piece first, and then I flip the pattern sheet up and I just make a little dot where the pin is actually piercing into the fabric, and that's the simplest way how I do it. For this particular design, it does have a lot of pattern pieces with dots to be sewn up, so after I've cut it out, my first thing is to make sure that I go and I mark all of those dots on all of the pattern pieces first thing. Just as a tip, you want to make sure that you are putting your pin straight in at a 90-degree angle, not so much at, when you slant it a little bit or something like that. You want to make sure that it's going straight down because you don't want that point to be distorted. You can use your ironing board for this, or I'm using the floor because it's carpeted and it's just easier, and I have a lot of pattern pieces. I don't feel like cutting them over to the ironing board. And there is the point that you need to sew up to. The next immediate step is that I will pin out all of the dots. I don't do the home sewing method where you pin the dots of the bodice, then you go and sew the dots of the bodice, and then you go press the dots of the bodice. No, I will pin out all of the dots that are on any of the pattern pieces, and then I'll sew all of the dots in one go, and then I'll press all of the dots in one go. And when I've got a lot of dots to sew up, like I do with this particular pattern, I will actually use pins, although normally I don't use pins. Apologies there, that's my alarm clock going off on my phone, and I'm recording on my phone. But as I was saying, for the dots, I will only use the 2 pins at the widest part of the dot leg where I match up the notches, and just a pin to mark where I'm supposed to stop sewing, because when I'm sewing my dots, the last inch or so, I will stop and I will reduce my stitch length, and that's how I sew my dots. So I'm gonna go right ahead and pin every single dot on this pattern, and I think this has got a total of about 16 dots to do, so this is kind of like a batch sewing in a way. With all of the dot legs now done, I'm just taking them over to the ironing board using my tailor's ham, and I'm going to press all of the dot legs in one go. The next thing I did was to sew up that front side panel to the main center panel, and then the next thing is I'm going to stay stitch the armholes and the necklines because those are cut on a bias and we don't want them to distort during construction. The other thing is that this isn't an actual garment, it's a toile or a muslin or a trial garment. I'm not actually going to be sewing any facings. I'm just going to notch around those curved areas like the armhole and the neckline. And if you hang about until the end, you'll be able to see what that looks like. The front has come together pretty quickly and it looks quite good. So now we're moving on to the skirt pieces. For the skirt, I'm going to start off with the center front seam, which is actually encased in the pleat. Okay, so this is what I've done in order to make the box pleat. I've done the center front seam and I've marked where the pleat is. So and then this is how we're going to form the box pleat. What this looks like. Down and pin that and baste it. So we now have a skirt and a body, so now we just have to sew it together at the waist seam. And we're also going to notch right up to that stitching line, and the idea is that we'll press it under, and that's going to show us what it would look like if it had the facing on without actually having to sew the facing. So I used a basting stitch to sew up the center back, and then I've just attached the zipper. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew along here. So it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just a toile, and I've pressed these down. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm losing the light, so this is the toile. I gotta say, I think that the fit is pretty good, and ignore my armpits. It's winter. I don't shave my armpits in winter, but I'm very happy with the armscye. The armscye. I quite like the neckline. Might lower it a bit though. But yeah. Hello, vintage Burda. Oh, oh, oh. Love it. I need a new bra. Okay. So this is the box pleat at the front. And then you've got the two dots. It's a very, very elegant fit. And even when I look at the side, it's quite good. I mean, I could make it snug. I probably have about half an inch that I could take out if I wanted it to be snugger, I guess. But amazing. So the thing that I am going to do is I'm gonna add some pockets, because pockets are everything. But I'm very, very happy and very impressed with the great quality of the design, and the fit and the ease that comes with it is very accurate. I selected my pattern based on my bust, my waist measurements, and this was the size 38-40, and this is the toile, the trial garment, and it is pretty much spot on. Okay, I'm just going to show you the fabric that I'm going to use to actually make the proper fashion garment. You're going to love it. It's such a fantastic fabric. Okay, the lighting is much better down here, not up in the attic, but so Laura Casey at So Different Patterns actually released her range of fabrics, which are now available to buy on her website, and the link will be in the description box down below. And I got the citrusy pebble one. It's the half-term holiday, so I've got a lot of kids running around in the background. I've got one coming up here.
Can I have a bungee?
Huh?
Can I have a bungee?
They're for dinner. Dinner will be very soon.
You said they were for lunch.
Yeah, but they're for dinner. Dinner will be very soon. Yeah. So, like I said, it's half-term. But anyway, this is the citrus pebble. I think, yeah, no, pebble citrus. And this fabric is 30% linen and it's 70% cotton. But I just thought that this was a really good, it's got quite a retro-y vibe to it. And so I was looking through the magazine and I thought, actually, this would work for that. And it's got, I feel like it's got the right sort of drape for it. And oh, yeah, let me show you this in better light. So as you can see, it's a really beautiful fit. So there's that thing that I was saying that I could, if I wanted to make it even more snug, I've got at least, I don't know, about half an inch on each side that I could go in, but I don't think it's necessary. You know, right, so here we go. I think it's going to be really, really fabulous. And I plan on making a belt, a self-faced belt to go with it as well. And oh, can I just say how much I love this neckline here? I really do feel like this is a very good fit for me. Is this a little bit loose? Or it's the fabric. So the fabric that I've used to make the toile garment is very stiff, but this one is quite nice and soft. It's got a little bit more drape, so that's going to be fun to work with. I cannot wait. Let me show you. I think that it's going to be awesome. So it's got like a lovely drape. So that's what this is going to be. And I think that is going to be so in keeping with the 1960s vibe. So I'm hoping to get this sewn up this weekend and actually do like a sew and tell with it next week. So I'm super, super excited. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the post and that you enjoying my journey. I've gotten a little bit sidetracked from my normal sewing plans because I'm just so into the vintage magazines. So do bear with me. I'm just having so much fun with it. If you enjoyed it, please do hit the like button down below. If you haven't already, do subscribe. I put out new sewing related videos every single week. And until I see you next time, happy sewing. Bye.